Welcome to Cordkillers. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we are just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Where's the good stuff, Brian?
I'll tell you where the good stuff is apparently in my ears. Now that I'm hanging out with you backstage in the admin view of StreamYard, I'm hearing a different audio quality. That's
really
deep, rich bass. I think it's because it caches the theme song locally or something.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
Great.
Yeah. That's probably it. Yeah, a little behind the veil.
Actually, hold on. I take that back. It's because I'm wearing these awesome deep bass headphones.
You're wearing different headphones. Yeah. We did let Brian finally come backstage, though. It was a big day for all of us. So
well, we had to set it up because now we're streaming. I guess, do we want to rest in peace to a YouTube channel? Hail to the King,
we're moving the show over to the Modern Rogue channel so that more people can get in on the fun. Thanks to everybody on the Cordkillers channel who watches us there. And if you do watch us on the Cordkillers channel, this is the last week we're streaming on that. So you might want to jump over to the Modern Rogue channel if you like to watch live, or the Twitch. We'll still be on twitch.tv/nightattack as well.
And the content will still live there, right?
But that's up to us. Sure.
Yeah.
We can decide that content will still live there. I think that's a great idea.
I think it's good.
All right, then it will. Let's get on to the supply run.
Supply run.
And put out its numbers for the top 10 most watched shows on streaming. They have two categories. One is shows that are only on streaming, and then what it calls acquired shows. So if you stream NCIS on Hulu, that's an acquired show. But if you watch Hacks on HBO Max, that is a streaming show. Netflix's share of the most watched shows on streaming has declined from more than 80% in 2021 to close to 50%, which I have to say is still pretty damn impressive that one streaming service has 50% of the most watched shows. The final season of Squid Game is the top show. It is edging out Jack Reacher's, or just Reacher, on Amazon Prime Video. And we also have The White Lotus and The Last of Us over on the acquired show, Brian, because The White Lotus and The Last of Us are on HBO linear. So they are considered acquired. So they're not on the top streaming shows, which gives Netflix a little more room to maneuver, I guess.
Yeah, this is a lot of artifacts of an emerging market that is maturing at this point. First of all, that 80% of Netflix, that's a feel-good percentage, but it reminds me a little bit of the early days when I first launched scamstuff.com, and I was so proud of like my 80% email open rate. And one of my marketing mentors was like, "You realize that's terrible, right?" I'm like, "Why?" And it's like, it means you're not nearly reaching as many people as you should, because it means you're only talking to your family, basically.
Yeah.
So likewise,
when I email Brian, I get 100% open rate.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So in this case, Netflix being at 80% is, think about the quality of the content back in the day. It's probably a bigger indicator of the tininess of the market getting bigger than it is of the quality at that time.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too to see like Severance still up there as first half of the year. We've talked about Ginny and Georgia before on Netflix. The Night Agent right behind Reacher. The Pit is Max's only show on streaming. But again, if you look at the acquired shows, then you're going to see The Last of Us and The White Lotus, except the acquired show section includes things like Bluey and Grey's Anatomy, and those far in millions of minutes watched outweigh everything else. Bluey has 25 billion minutes of watch in the first half of the year versus the top streaming show, Squid Game, 15 billion minutes of watch time.
So there was a time that it would have driven me batty to have the distinction between a acquired show versus a native streaming one. But now I appreciate a little bit more the status symbol of being for example, all things being equal, Hacks is a delightful streaming originally, and even though you can see it on regular HBO now, that is an indication of its extraordinary success. Whereas a broadcast show or an acquired show is one where the money engine is betting on it, which you could squint and say that's an indication that it must not be very good. It must be just machine-driven popcorn fare. Or it could be essentially we believe in it. It's not going to go away. It's a bigger swing, so it means more. It's kind of like, I don't know, like the Oscars is an insider industry, Hollywood votes for Hollywood thing, but it means a lot when the engine is moving versus plucky misfits out there in the streaming void.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it kind of plays into something I noticed about this. Bloomberg calls it the rerun list instead of the acquired list.
Yeah.
Because it kind of makes more sense. You're talking about NCIS. People are probably watching a lot of back catalog of stuff. And NCIS, being the third most popular acquired / rerun, is available on multiple platforms. It's not just one platform. It's available on Hulu and Netflix and Paramount Plus. Grey's Anatomy is number 2. It's available on Hulu, but also Netflix. You get the current episodes on Hulu, but the back catalog is also available on Netflix. I don't know if that is something that would encourage more shows to be distributed across platforms because the rights holder of that show makes more money, or if it's just kind of something that people are like, well, we'd rather have all of it on one platform.
Yeah, I guess that also makes me think regarding the acquired thing that it allows. So part of the resistance to being on streaming is because the folks who are part of the traditional Hollywood engine aren't going to want to sully themselves by appearing to be a fly-by-night streaming operation. But if they could preserve, for lack of a better word, their dignity, their Hollywood aura with this moniker, then ultimately everybody just wants everything to be seen. But the prestige is a currency when it comes to the arts.
And Bluey is exclusive to Disney Plus in this list with 25 billion minutes. So being exclusive doesn't always hurt you. Family Guy is exclusive to Hulu here, 19 billion minutes. The one loser in this is Peacock. I see some Paramount Plus. I see some Apple TV Plus. I only see one Peacock, and that is Law and Order SVU, which is shared with Hulu. Yeah,
well, we've talked before about Peacock kind of having a little bit of an identity crisis. I know that they did very, very well in being the home for the Olympics, right? The Peacocks did that.
Yeah. They had a nice spike in subscriptions because of that.
Well, and recently I got an email they were pushing very, very hard, Poker Face, because the season 2 finale just came out. And I think that is very iconic of what Peacock can be. If only there was, more of these and less, because I don't even know what an NBC really is these days anymore.
No, it's a Peacock, honestly, or it's somebody who makes shows that you watch somewhere and you don't really know what an NBC is, right? Yeah. I found these charts to be instructive because it shows you that there are definitely people watching these prestige shows that we talked about, like The Pitt, 1923, Severance, etc. But way more people still, even in the streaming world, are watching NCIS, Law and Order SVU, Family Guy.
I was very struck by how diverse and pocketed all of these properties were. I don't think I've seen a second of 1923, as far as I know. And The Pit, I've heard a bit about. The Handmaid's Tale was a cultural phenomenon. But You on Netflix, nope. I've heard I've heard good things about Landman, but it sounds like homework. The Night Agent. Did you watch or know anything about this one?
No, but I've heard a lot about it. It's got buzz.
The number 3 most popular show in all of streaming. And 2 guys who've covered this beat for 15 years ain't heard of The Night Agent. How remarkable is that? What a testament.
I mean, I've heard of it. That's the extent of my knowledge on it. Is not something I've watched. I haven't watched Ginny and Georgia either. We've talked about it on the show, but You is supposed to be a really good show too. Again, another testament to the fact that there's too much TV, and TV is now books, and not everybody reads all the books. You pick the ones you think you're going to like and you recommend them to friends. That's why we're here.
Yeah, the only qualifier I would add to the statement, you know what? I was about to say there isn't too much TV, but then I realized if we just add a comma, there's too much TV for anybody to be expected to have watched all of it.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
There are too many books. You don't want to end the sentence right there.
Yeah, it doesn't mean let's make fewer books.
Exactly.
It just means you can't possibly read all the books. And that's okay. We have an embarrassment of riches. Well, some of us have an embarrassment of riches. We could be more embarrassed, actually.
Oh my God. We invite you to embarrass us, make us blush. That's the Cordkillers promise. You guys keep us loud, live, and independent by heading on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. We will continue midway through our second decade in covering this beat. And you'll be flashing us some cabbage and making us blush with your embarrassment of riches. Snitches get riches is what we like to say.
We do. We say it all the time.
So tell on us by going to patreon.com/Cordkillers. I'm just word salad. I'm GPT 3.5.
As a large language model, I recommend you go to patreon.com/Cordkillers. Now to the search party.
Yes.
Murderbot just wrapped up season 1 on Apple TV Plus, and right before the last episode dropped, Apple announced it has approved a second season, so we will get more Murderbot. Brian, where do you stand on Murderbot?
I'm glad it exists. I look forward to having eaten so many M&Ms that it kind of feels like I ate a candy bar. They're tiny. They're tiny little bite-sized episodes, Tom.
You kind of want to pick up a bunch of them in your hand and eat them all at once.
And plus also it's split across like 3 narrative threads. You've got the Murderbot's journey of self-discovery. You've got the crew as a cloud of idiots that are eventually developing their own personalities and growing. You've got that's the main protagonist is the cluster. And then you've got the side quest of always having to wedge in the interdimensional cable aspect to it. And so as a result, you're left with about 7 minutes on each story per episode, which week over week, I suspect this is going to really sing when it premieres in season 2 and everybody goes back and binges episode 1 and everyone's going to say, where's this been all my life? Because it's delicious candy.
Did you get to the end yet?
No, as a matter of fact, we got distracted with Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew is so good, Tom. It got me good. Have you watched any of it?
No, I have not yet.
All right. It got me good. There's this moment where they establish through words and rules that it's bad if a ship gets damaged in this way. And I'm like, man, it really looks like you're getting damaged in this way. I don't see how you can get out of this. And then they press the magic button that had been over in front of our eyes the whole way. And then the ship does something very clever. And I'm like, all right, that was pretty good.
All right. Yeah, no, I've got to get to it. I've got to put it on. I will find a moment. I've had some stressful stuff going on that means I've wanted to put up something I didn't want to have to pay attention to. So every time I've thought about like this, I'm like, oh no, but I want to pay attention to that. It's good.
My standard disclaimer remains, it takes about 20 minutes for you to wrap your mind into the Goonies of it all. You got to reset your palate away from Andor. But once you do, it's a treat.
The Office spinoff, which will be called The Paper, will debut on Peacock with 4 episodes on September 4th. Easy to remember, 4 episodes, September 4th. And then we'll release 2 episodes a week until September 25th. If you haven't been familiar, this is going to document the offices of the Toledo Truth Teller. Same documentary crew from The Office shows up to do a documentary about a newspaper, and turns out Oscar, who used to work at Dunder Mifflin, is now working as an accountant for this newspaper and is not very happy to see that documentary crew. And again, Brian.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to really, I would imagine early on, they're going to hang an awful lot on him in the pilot, because he's the familiar face, the through line. Yeah. But like he'll be the spotlight, a story, but I think clearly what they're going to want to do is establish a new set of beloved characters for us to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way The Office originally did, even in the UK version, was only the first couple episodes really lean into the we're documenting the Office aspect. And then eventually you're sort of released from your training wheels and you're just enjoying the story, right? And every once in a while they'll make a reference to remind you like, the conceit is this is a documentary crew. I have a feeling they'll do that as well. And you'll see Oscar kind of informing the people at the newspaper, this is what happened to me before, so you got to be careful. And then eventually that'll just go away. Yeah. Wednesday released a trailer for season 2 that shows Jenna Ortega as Wednesday, fighting to save Enid after a psychic vision of her death. We got the release schedule as well. If you're into Wednesday, part 1 debuts on Netflix August 6th, and then part 2 on September 3rd. So they're doing this one in 2 parts.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be tempted to dive into Wednesday.
I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. It was a you're soaking in it kind of show where I just liked the vibe. The story was good enough, but I was just there for the aesthetics, honestly. Like they did a great job making a fun, weird, alternate universe world with the Addams family inhabiting it at the fringes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're soaking in it. We've talked before about how narratively, allegedly, people are being encouraged to make it very easy to follow a show with 90% of your brain distracted. But does Wednesday fall into that trap, or does it deliver on enough rich visuals? Is it a full attention watch or no?
I definitely made it a full attention watch. And I think the story is deserving of more attention than some Netflix shows. So I don't think it's meant to be wallpaper. But the thing I enjoyed the most about it is just, the goth visuals, the sort of the spooky, scary vibe to it. And not even just the way it looks, but the way they speak, the way they interact, the world building. It's if world is your doorway, so to speak, into a story, then this is your thing, I think.
Yeah.
Apple released a teaser for season 4 of The Morning Show, which is still being made and returns on September 17th.
Yeah. Okay. So that one I did watch the entire trailer on, and it was fascinating because I actually intentionally didn't look deep into my mind to try to summon what I was supposed to remember about The Morning Show. I remember Jennifer Aniston, and I'm like, is it funny or not? And I'm like, I think it was ish. I think it was Aaron Sorkin-y.
Yeah.
I think it was serious, but not all the way up its butt. And as a result, I was a bit flummoxed and intrigued by this trailer that seemed super serious.
I think one of the things The Morning Show had to do early on was deal with COVID, right?
That's right.
They were a show about covering the news, and suddenly they had a worldwide pandemic not only actually interrupt their shooting schedule, but then they were acting as if they were in the current world, and so they had to incorporate that into it. And I think they leaned into that. So what I got out of this trailer is, if you want to know how the folks on The Morning Show responded to the events of the world over the past couple of years, we're going to catch you up. Don't worry.
Yeah. Justin and I were talking just last night on Great Night about how it only just now feels like we're far enough away from the pandemic that we wouldn't mind some narrative stories being told in that time. And Lawrence Wright, who wrote The Looming Tower, has a book, The Plague Year, that's about that time, that came out concurrently, or just, it's a little bit dated now. But yeah, it's kind of weird now that we're a little past that PTSD.
Netflix announced season 10 of its reboot of Queer Eye will end after season 10. So they're going to have a 10th season, and that's it. That season is now currently in production.
10 seasons is a lot.
Yeah. No movie yet. Squid Game season 3 has become the 3rd show ever to claim the top 3 spots on the charts after Stranger Things and Money Heist.
So does that mean season 1, season 2, season 3, or all the episodes? Okay.
Yeah, on Netflix's own charts. Exactly.
Yeah. That's huge, man.
Yeah, pretty big, but everybody hates it. Nobody watches. And finally, starting Friday, August 8th, Fox Nation will offer PBR Friday Night Live from professional bull riders and will, over the course of 10 weeks, offer team events from across the country. If you're unfamiliar with Fox Nation, it is a targeted niche streamer for fans of Fox News who just love Fox News and they want even more Fox News. The foxier the better. And so they're willing to pay for exclusive access that not only gives them the Fox News programming that you can get on cable, but also more stuff in addition to that. It has been very news oriented up until now. And I wonder, with Fox planning to offer a wider Fox over-the-top streaming service later this year, if they wanted to lock up the rights to PBR Friday Night Live for that, but they had to put it on Fox Nation because they're like, well, but the season starts before that. So if you want them, you better, for the next couple of years, you better sign here.
No, I strongly suspect that it is purely born of having literally anything that so you've got the political spectrum, you've got Fox, which was reddish and is now bright red, and then the distilled crimson folks who are following Fox Nation. They probably need something like even more undistilled that also signals liberals wouldn't like this or whatever, it's got animals and so on. I wonder how tired everyone's going to get of bull riding, because spoiler alert, they either do or don't last 8 seconds, the end.
I mean, bull riding's got fans though, right? So maybe newbies will get tired of it, but I'm guessing Fox Nation is we have an over-indexed number of bull riding fans who are going to be locked in for this.
Well, this is why the most intriguing part to me is the only 10 episodes, because what that implies to me is that if this does well, then no, it doesn't mean that bull riding fever has hit America. What it means is the Fox Nation audience has something that's uniquely their own, their version of Netflix's F1 or what have you.
Yeah, this is like WWE coming to Netflix, right?
Exactly.
It's a thing that people already watch. It's just now you got to get Fox Nation if you want to keep watching it.
And so in that regard, it makes me wonder if, great, we did one 10-episode arc. Now let's take another very deep red state, relatively niche thing and cover that one for 10. And then as an ongoing cycle, as an anthology, I think there could really be something interesting there.
Yeah, I do think they want it for their broader service, though. And I could be wrong about that, but I have a feeling that you wouldn't have put this on Fox Nation specifically because it is so branded if you had that other service up and running. But we'll find out. Let us move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
So the buried treasure segment is where we talk about something we have been watching lately, and maybe it'll be something you're like, hey, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to watch that too.
Yeah. So I made the mistake, Tom, of while I was perusing around in my Amazon device TV, I saw the Jaws 50, which, contrary to popular belief, doesn't mean there are 49 other Jawses. It's the 50th anniversary of Jaws. And so I was like, I'll just watch the first minute, which of course means I watched all of Jaws. And so it begins with a quick reminiscence, a very tight package from Steven Spielberg. And I'd be curious to know just how much retouching they did, because the colors really pop. You could tell that they ran some LUTs on everything. But that opening shot, you get a little bit of Lagoon, Tom, and it's like 1 minute of only a dolly shot panning over people eating around a campfire at the beach, drinking and partying. And there are, I kid you not, 7 vignettes just in that one thing, complete stories, narratives that go through multiple phases. And then, and you're like, whoa, it's only been 1 minute. That's how deep and rich all of the cinematography that the storytelling that Spielberg does. It's great.
So I have a question for you, because I think it was the Economist podcast was talking about the 50th anniversary, and one of their reporters was saying in the 70s when this came out, it was clear that the humans were the heroes, right? You could argue about Brody and Hooper, but the Jaws was the enemy. The shark was the enemy. They said in a modern viewing, So a lot of people are watching Jaws and going like, I'm kind of cheering for the shark.
Oh, I think that's a trite sentiment from spoiled children.
Do you really?
Sorry. Yeah.
I was just curious because you watched it and I haven't watched it. If you were like, no, I actually kind of get it,
as a
or if
matter
it
of
was
fact,
that. Yeah.
Two things popped out that I didn't notice is there's one moment that there's a bit more of explanation about sharks and how they're like that. I'm like, it stuck out. I'm like, wait. And I'm like, oh, they're telling the audience for the first time. Like they explain territoriality. It's just a theory, Tom. But the theory is that animals can be territorial and discover humans. And they also act as though up until 20 minutes ago, humans never veered out into the ocean for fun. Imagine if a territorial shark discovered that humans taste good. So you could tell it was actually selling this cultural phenomenon. But the second part that was even better is there's an unbroken like 7 seconds of an arcade cabinet that I ain't never heard of from Sega called Shark Attack. And it shows like it does one of these hard cuts to it's a shark swimming and then it gets shot and starts flailing about. And the graphics are like, I don't even know how they did this in 1975. And the answer was the game was released in 1973. Spielberg saw it and it partly informed how he created Jaws. He wanted to showcase it and it's purely mechanical. So it's actually a film reel playing of a shark swimming and then it mechanically ran on an 8-track so it would jump to different music sound effects on there. It's and I would love to, if anyone knows anybody who has access to one of these, I want to do a Modern Rogue episode on tracking it down because it's a piece of history. It belongs in a museum.
You're a museum. I have been watching Downton Abbey.
Oh, so you're still stuck.
I went back and just started episode 1 because the movie's coming out in September. And I was like, you know what? Let me just it's so soothing. I don't have to pay any attention if I don't want to. And here's the kicker. I got the X-Real Pro glasses that you plug into your phone and I can have like a 200-inch screen. I could be sitting out in my backyard. I could be laying in bed. Wherever I go, I have a 200-inch screen of this play.
All right, I've seen various iterations of this idea over the years. But is it good?
Yeah, no, it's great resolution. And yeah, when I'm outside, it gets faded out a little by the sun. So I have to crank the brightness up. But inside, it's fantastic. Refresh rate
transparent or like a floating screen?
No, it's like a floating screen. If there's nothing in my field of view, I can see the world around me. But when I want, and I can change the size of the screen, I can have it fixed so that it's always in the same place. And if I move around, it doesn't move, or I can have it follow me. So I can get up and walk around. But I've just been rewatching Downton Abbey as sort of I don't want to think right now. I just want to relax.
Yeah. What are they called again?
X-Real. X-Real is the maker of. I tried these out at the Consumer Electronics Show in January, and I was like, you know what, these are pretty good. This is a pretty good take on this. So when they released them for sale a couple months ago, I put in an order and got them. Very simple. They don't do a lot. They are just meant to plug into your device by USB-C, but you can plug them into any device and they work like an external monitor.
So they are wired. Wow.
And there's no battery because they're just pulling the display. So you don't need to, charge them or anything.
And do they have to be sunglasses? Because these could be teleprompters.
Yeah, I actually did an episode of Daily Tech News Show wearing them. But yeah, they look like that. That is the downside. You've got that style to choose from.
I mean, I don't know. I could be talked into it. That sounds
they're kind of big too for on camera use, but yeah, they worked.
Yeah,
that was pretty nice. But anyway, Downton Abbey. It's kind of funny, having watched the whole series all the way to the most recent movies, how much doesn't change. Mm-hmm. Even though lots changes in the world around them, which I guess is sort of the idea. All right. It is time for us to take a quick moment to tell folks who watch Cordkillers about something else you're doing, Brian.
Oh man, I didn't know that it was my turn this time. I'm still glowing from the class that we did, the Do Your Weird Thing class. I had to summarize it for everyone, and all I wanted to do is grab a few snippets that I could make animated GIFs out of, and that sent me down an 8-hour black hole of rewatching all of the presentations and figuring out like every little fine-tuning thing for the next class that we're going to do. If anybody does no idea what I'm talking about, basically Tom and I, 15 years into being independent creators, we were able to carve out an interesting niche covering, movies and TV. Of course, Scam School I brought to Revision 3 and then reimagined as Scam Nation. Heck, all of the Modern Rogue is what is dedicated to being fiercely independent and being able to bring your weird thing out into the world. And now I turned 50 and I'm old like Tom. So we decided to share all our secrets with the world with a 2.5-day class. We had Tom Merritt, we had Justin Robert Young, we had Andrew Heaton, we had Matt Donnelly from Penn Sunday School, and at the class, Penn Jillette did an hour plus of Q&A. You can actually listen to that whole episode. It's really great. We're doing another class. It's coming up in September 19th, 20th, and 21st. It's don't tell the folks who went to this class, but this one's going to be even better because we're going to be able to go further into more detail on a whole bunch of stuff. We figured out what totally syncs. Also, by the way, you'll learn to eat fire. So if you're interested, head on over to scamstuff.com. It's gear for the Modern Rogue. Just type the word weird and check out the class that's on there for September.
And now we must scan the horizon. Scanning the horizon.
Send a scanning crew aboard.
Scanning the horizon!
Brian, remember when we had the Emmy Awards as our main topic because a Netflix show got nominated?
Oh, yeah. And then the news story was, how weird is it that there are so many streaming services winning so many Emmys that it's not even news?
Now it's down here in the Scanning the Horizon segment.
It's a footnote.
Because all of the nominees are streaming services. Apple TV Plus's Severance got the most nominations for a show with 27, including Best Drama. Also, The Studio from Apple TV got 23 nominations. HBO Max got the most nominations by platform, 142. The second season of Last of Us got 16 of those. The Penguin got a bunch. The White Lotus, The Pit, Hacks, multiple nominations for all of those. Highest number of noms that HBO has ever received. But Netflix still holds the record for nominations with 160 back in 2020. Disney Plus got a bunch, including 14 nominations for Andor, which is all up for Best Drama. If you want to watch the Emmy Awards, you can. It'll be on Paramount Plus and CBS September 14th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Where are you at with your general affection for the Emmys? Because I think I'm a bigger fan of the idea of the Emmys than actually bothering to watch. I like that football exists, but I'm not going to cheer for a team.
I feel like interest-wise, the Oscars and the Grammys are always at the top for me. I think because the Oscars just has fewer categories, frankly, where I'm like, oh, I want to know what the best movie is. I want to know what they think the best movie is. I'm curious. Grammys, because you can watch some really great music performances when you watch the Grammys. I'm actually less interested in the awards than the show in that particular case. And then the Emmys are down there. They're like behind that because I'm like, there's too many categories. And then they split up the shows. Like there's a comedy musical, but then there's also a drama. And I'm sort of curious about it.
You're Emmy curious.
I'm Emmy curious. Yeah.
No, I think I think it continues to be for good or for ill. What's happened to me, Tom? I used to hate all this stuff.
You
now I'm
did.
Like, good for them. Yeah.
Now you're like, I want more. You know what it is? Because we were cheering against the Emmys when it was like, none of the shows on the streaming services are getting their due. And now it's like, oh, yeah, no, they're totally dominated by the streaming services.
Sure. I suppose also there has to be some amount of, we are now the inheritors of what younger, pluckier versions of ourselves have done. And so now I'm like, there's something to be said for the old institutions, Tom.
It happens to all of us. Yeah.
The real ones.
Well, supposedly it's one of those like Churchill might have said, never trust anyone under 30 who isn't a socialist or anyone over 40 who isn't a conservative, just kind of
has
that.
no heart, has no brain.
Yeah. That's it. That's the quote. On the back of the box office success of its F1 movie, the Financial Times reports that Apple is in talks to acquire the rights to Formula One racing. Like actual racing, not more movie, but the sport. Yeah.
But what wasn't that something that we were hearing whispers about Netflix getting the streaming rights to all of that?
There was scuttlebutt that Netflix was nosing around these rights. But apparently Netflix no longer in the conversation, according to the Financial Times. ESPN has the rights, and they don't expire until 2026. But the exclusive window for ESPN to get them back just ended. So now it's open to all comers. We might hear Netflix get back into it, but I think it's interesting that window closed and the Netflix rumors died away. Whereas ESPN could still hold on to them. They might just be playing hardball and pushing it to the very end. But apparently Apple is willing to throw in some cash and try to outbid them.
Can I share a stupid thought that I had? Apple has so much money that for a hot second, I read this summary and thought that they were just legit straight up going to buy the entire institution of F1.
It's not as crazy a thought, but no, it'd just be the rights to Formula One. And then, what Apple always wants to do, and this is why they did not get the NFL, but they did get Major League Soccer, is they want to tie up all the rights. They want to make it easy. They want to have no blackouts. They want to say, you get this. We don't know if they would do this like as an add-on like Major League Soccer, or if they would include it with Apple TV Plus. My guess is it would be an add-on. But if you pay for it as an add-on, you just get it all. You get all the races. That's usually why Apple doesn't get stuff, is companies are like, well, but we actually have this one deal for this one place to get it here. And Apple's like, no, we just want to have everything. We'll write you a big fat check. We just want to have everything. It was a big deal last week. Max officially changed its name to HBO Max.
Tom, it's finally over. You went through all the stages: grief, denial, bargaining. Now comes acceptance. How are you with HBO Max as a name?
I'm fine with it. Yeah. I was that guy where everybody heard the news that they were going to change it and started calling it HBO Max. And I'm like, well, it's actually still Max. They haven't actually changed it yet. If you go look at the logo, and so now I can stop being that guy. And it is HBO Max for everyone. Can't wait till they change it again.
Yeah, the window has pivoted.
The
I'm
window
not
has
going to relitigate all that stuff. Sorry.
It's HBO Max. It's the show's over, folks. Until they decide to change it.
Nothing to see here. It's HBO Max.
Here's an interesting one. CNN has hired Brad Smith. You may or may not have heard of him. He's been on Yahoo Finance and Cheddar. If you watch those, they're business oriented streaming channels. He is going to serve as CNN Headlines anchor on the CNN Headlines Fast channel, free ad supported version of CNN that gives you the news.
Yep.
I mean, this is the evolution, right? CNN Headlines was launched as like, well, CNN wants to do special coverage sometimes, so headlines will always give you the news every half hour around the world, around the clock. And then eventually CNN Headlines started to have its own shows, and they stopped doing the headlines around the world and around the clock. Now we can get back to that pure thing that we had when we were in audience acquisition mode back in the 80s. Until people start watching this enough, and then they will start doing other things with it.
It's MTV all over again, right? MTV essentially took free advertisements in the form of music promos, ran them as content. Everybody said that they loved MTV. MTV noticed that people weren't watching MTV, so they dipped toe into the burgeoning field of reality television. They had a hit with the real world. Suddenly there was never music on MTV. And so somebody said, here's an idea. What about MTV2? We'll show music. fantastic. Psych, we're going to do Wonder Chosen, the most astonishing progressive comedy I've ever seen. It's the same game, man. Same game.
Yeah. Here you go. Watch some free CNN. ABC News will debut its first original daily news show for Disney Plus on July 21st called What You Need to Know, anchored by James Longman and Rachel Scott. So this is not a free version of CNN. This is, you pay for Disney Plus, let's give you a news show. Because if you want ABC News, you either have to watch it on broadcast or you get the ABC News app and you watch it there. This is tailored for a younger crowd. It is an episode that premieres at 6 a.m. Eastern, and then you can watch it for the next 24 hours until a new show drops, almost like a podcast.
This is... Okay, you threw me on podcast because I was going to make a point about how it's almost like geographies. It's like regional television based on the region of being in Disney Plus. That neighborhood, there's going to be a flavor to that that'll be different than others. But podcast, you broke my brain there because podcasts have become so highly personal to everybody and tailored.
Yeah, and this is we know who watches Disney Plus, and they aren't watching regular news. We have an amazing, world-class news organization. Let's create something for them, and they can watch it whenever they want, but we'll refresh it every day at 6 a.m. Eastern. So that must mean that the majority of their audience is in the Eastern time zone, which is, I'm going to guess, is probably true and makes sense. And so now this can be their morning cup of coffee news program. Not going to have breaking news. That's why it's more like a podcast. Finally, Superman came out this weekend. Domestic gross was $122 million, led the weekend box office charts. No surprise there. $95 million international for a total global sales of $217 million through Sunday.
Tom, everybody's talking about it. Is the blockbuster back? And the only way to know is to see how well Fantastic Four does. And the only reason to care is because if it is, then that means we can go back to doing the summer movie draft.
Ah, yes. Someday that draft will return. Let's move on to the chatter.
You've got mail.
So when we were recording from Do Your Weird Thing at Brian's place for Cordkillers, we didn't have the inline segment intros like the one you just heard. So Brian hummed them, and Josh wrote in to say, can I request that we only do the Brian version of segment music intros going forward like we did in the live episode? It is the only right version.
I mean, some might say that we finally revealed the true form of each of those.
Indeed. Scoopernova Girl wrote in and said, my favorite series that only had one season, because we were talking about that, was ABC's Forever, a crime procedural, but the hook is the medical examiner is immortal. And while solving the crime of the day, also tries to figure out why he can't die. Lasted one season. He's immortal, but the show was not. Lasted one season, but finished with a completed story. Also, ABC's The Quest, a reality elimination game show where contestant paladins travel to a very immersive fantasy land, live and work in an actual castle, and must learn how to fight a great evil being and become the one true hero. The Quest could be a good match as you haven't done the reality game show genre yet for the full experience, and it's a compelling fantasy story.
That's a really good one because there are also really fascinating riffs on the emerging reality show. There were one-off weird things like Who Wants to Marry a Millionaire?
Yeah.
But there were also kind of thoughtful experiments. Like, do you remember the Joe Schmo show? Did you ever see that?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, the idea was it was basically the Truman Show as a reality show where everybody was in on it and they were having a fake reality show just for one guy who was never really competing in there.
There was a version of that concept on Apple TV, I think, where they had a jury in a courtroom. That's right. But it was a fake trial. And all the jury members were actors. The judge, the lawyers, they were all actors except for one member of the jury who thought it was real.
Turns out that that dude's like, man, sure. really interesting. Can I get back to work? This is costing me
That
money.
guy was like,
This
so is
sucks.
my jury service excused still? Because that was a TV show.
Are you going to sign the slip or not? Because I got a
exactly.
job, Jack.
John Wright. And by the way, we were talking about one season TV shows because someone suggested the idea of doing the full experience in real time where we wait between the first, the ultimate, the lowest, and the last and watch them, on the anniversary of their dates. And if there were years between, we'd have to wait years. So we're like, maybe a 1 year show would be more practical. John said, I wanted to make a suggestion for that real time full experience. There was a show that I think only ran for one season called Life on Mars. I really liked the show, but when they decided to cancel it after the first season, they came up with a bad series ender.
Yeah. So that sounds like a vote against your idea.
Maybe. I don't know. Also, Life on Mars in the US was a remake of a UK show, which I think was only meant to be one season. So that's interesting too. BioCow says, hey, fellow killers, one issue with doing the pop-in full experience. Most shows premiered in the fall and wrapped up in the spring. Just something to consider. Anyway, I wanted to throw in a few one-season shows that might make for a good pop-in test of the full experience. Pushing Daisies, Go On, one-season comedy with Matthew Perry and many other character actors you'd recognize. The Class, early role of actor John Bernthal, a.k.a. The Punisher. Greg the Bunny, weird experimental Seth Green comedy that puts guest stars into movie parodies with puppets. Maybe too weird, though. Thanks to all the Cordkillers team for all you do.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? There was also an improv show where actors would walk into a scene. They would walk into a room having no idea what they were about to go into. Like Jason Alexander just walks in and he's suddenly on the Starship Enterprise in the original series, and they just have to roll with it and see where it goes.
No, that's awesome. Finally, Sean writes, so this weekend I watched 2 movies, Superman in the theater and K-pop Demon Hunters. The former was a great iteration of the DC extended universe and ticked all of my boxes for what I was looking for. The former, though, I'm not a fan of anime. I'm largely unaware of K-pop, slightly prejudiced against animated movies. Wow, did it hit it out of the park. It was a silly, goofy for comic relief, but the jokes worked. The songs were surprisingly catchy. And my literal first response to opening scene explaining that there were certain singers in every generation that could perform to keep away demons, is this an animated Korean version of Sinners? It was a great movie, up in the same place as Across the Spider-Verse and up for my favorite animated movies. One of your longtime bosses giving you exceeding expectations performance review. Keep up the good work, Sean.
Wow. That makes me wonder if I should try to stunt and get my kids to go in blind. That might be incredible.
You should. I don't remember where I've talked about this because I've been asked about it on multiple shows that I do. So if I'm repeating myself here, I apologize. But Eileen and I watched K-pop Demon Hunters when it first came out, the weekend it came out. And we were like, oh yeah, that was fun. And I was like, oh yeah, you can tell the Across the Spider-Verse people, did the animation, same animation house, good animation, pretty expected. I feel like it was for kids, but I enjoyed it. And then everyone out of the woodwork is like, singing challenges of the songs. The songs are charting on Billboard. The album's charting on Billboard. People are doing covers on YouTube. Everyone like Sean, who's like, yeah, I don't know anything about K-pop, but I love this movie, is asking me about it. Like it's become a phenomenon. It's pretty crazy.
Wow. Okay. Well then, and that's on what service?
Netflix.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll have to do that.
And also it is not available in Korean.
What?
It's only available in English with Korean subtitles. The dubs are in like Thai and Arabic, but not in Korean.
Did we? Well, I mean, give that 20 minutes. One thing that AI is going to be very, very good at. Is
sure.
Highly, you're going to be able to select your dialect.
This is a decision. Netflix has no problem doing Korean dubs of stuff. It has no problem doing dubs in multiple languages of stuff. It is not the technology in this case. I'm curious, like, why? Why did they choose that?
You know what? I wonder if it's, we talked about this going all the way back to Narcos, where somebody pointed out that the acting was kind of ridiculous because everyone had wildly different accents and nobody acknowledged it. But to us, it's like, I don't know, it's all Spanish.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is the cultural reason that they're not bringing it. Like there's something that it looks good to outside of Korea. Like, I
It's
don't know.
ridiculously popular in Korea, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, licensing could be it. G. James B in the chat points that out.
It's Netflix owns all the license. They can do whatever they want with it.
Well, then take that, G. James B in the
Yeah.
chat.
I mean, no, these are all legitimate questions, and I've run through some of them. Yeah. If anybody knows, cordkillers@gmail.com. That's going to do it for us. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live on the Modern Rogue channel on YouTube, as well as twitch.tv/Night Attack, Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll see you there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.